No team in NBA history had a more disappointing season than the Lakers, who entered this NBA season as the favorites to not only win the West, but come out on top as NBA champions. After an underwhelming 21-19 start, the Lakers found themselves winning just 10 of their next 40 games, missing not only the playoffs, but the play-in tournament outright. The saddest part was that it was all in their hands, and as a Lakers fan, the worst part about it for us watching was that after the All-Star break, even though we had a renewed sense of optimism, we just saw the Lakers going down in the standings one by one until we were essentially on the outside looking into the play-in. Injuries to Bron and AD of course played a part, but even when those two and Russ were available, which wasn't very many games to say the least, the team was still very far from dominant. Russ seemed to have a hard time finding his role on the team. The role players were unreliable, and the Frank Vogel rotations were comical to say the least, and it began to seem like he's been playing Russian roulette before each game in his office. The way the Lakers would love to make significant roster changes, it's really not as simple as it seems, and the team would be a luxury tax-paying team with just a handful of stars under contract. And without a pick in this year's draft, this team is looking at a steep climb at returning to their championship form. Now in this video, what I'm gonna try to do is detail the different things the Lakers can do and have already done to help themselves not only for right now but in the future ahead. There has been a couple of things to come out since writing the script, so I will talk about those things in the end of the video, but as of right now we're just going to talk about the little bit of things we know as of May 2022. The first step to this turnaround starts with replacing Frank Vogel. Personally, I was never really sold on him. He did bring us a championship, and I don't think he's too bad of a coach. Well, he's a bad coach. I can't lie. I'm sorry. The biggest part of being a coach is knowing how to deal with egos while making sure your stars get their deserved touches and their looks from time to time. From the outside looking in, Vogel really struggled with this. His rotations played against his stars' strengths, and what he's known for as a coach, which is defense, was the worst I've seen in a very long time. And lastly, he really just seemed to not know how to utilize Russ's abilities properly. The Lakers now have hired Darvin Ham, and prior to making this video, I was a bit skeptical. However, after watching his introductory press conference and the inflection in his voice when it came to Russell Westbrook and this team, I'm confident the Lakers hired the right guy with regards to the candidates that were available. Darvin Ham was an NBA player that became a coach after he was done, and the one thing that intrigues me regarding Ham is the fact that he has a part in developing Giannis, as he's been in Milwaukee since 2019. Prior to that, he was also an assistant for the Hawks from 2014 on to 2018, and if you're a pretty new Hoop fan, those were some pretty good years for the Hawks. The way Darvin Ham spoke about Russ, knowing we're more than likely keeping him, it actually provided some hope to a Laker fan that seemed to have come to terms with us losing again like the late Kobe days. A year after trading its key role players, Kyle Kuzma, KCP, Montrezl Harrell, and their first round pick for Westbrook, the Lakers would absolutely love to pull off the inverse of this deal. Only problem is, in this last year, Russ's value has really plummeted. The players on our roster currently are Russ, Bron, AD, THT, Stanley Johnson, Wenyen Gabriel, Austin Reeves, and the professional money launderer, as I like to call him, Kendrick Nunn. As we speak today, the Lakers are negative $40 million in cap space, and they have a potential of freeing up a maximum of $20 million, which possibly shows the team's trouble with regards to cap space. At this point, the plan for the Lakers seems to be to make it to the trade deadline, make whatever moves they can to strengthen the roster while getting contracts like Russ's $47 million off of their books for next summer. The hope to me is that THT takes a leap, Kendrick Nunn bounces back, and if this happens, and I know this is a big if, but if the stars align and this occurs, these two players can be used for trade value in addition to Russ. As unfortunate as it is, the Lakers are likely limited to the mid-level exceptions and minimum salary contracts in free agency due to their proximity to the tax line. And if last season showed us anything at all, it's the fact that leaning on limited assets isn't the best idea. We used our mid-level exception for Nunn, who played 0 games, and many of our minimum signings were just complete ass, which included DeAndre Traffic Cone Jordan, Trevor Selgado Ariza, and Kent Can't Buy a Bucket Bazemore. On the bright side, the other minimum signings in Malik Monk, Avery Bradley, and Stanley Johnson, they all worked out pretty well. My favorite of the three were Stanley Johnson and Malik Monk. It is easier said than done, but the Lakers will have to do their due diligence and sign more Monks and less Traffic Cones. Now, since the making of this video, there has been talks of both Bradley Beal and Kyrie Irving leaving their team. Now with Kyrie, I don't know how I feel about that. There's a bit of unpredictability to that, but I will say, if you guys have been watching podcasts as of late, he was on I Am Athlete and he did say he would love to rejoin with LeBron. He spoke about his remorse and the fact that if he was older, if he was more mature, they would have won more championships. It would be dope to see if the Lakers can get something going where maybe Kyrie opts into his player option and we do a swap for him. Of course, I think Russell Westbrook has about $6 million more than Kyrie makes, so you would have to add someone else to that trade, but $6 million isn't too much to get off your books, so maybe that's something that could happen. I gotta go in the little trade lab thingy on the internet to see if that does work, but that would be cool to see if Kyrie did come to the team and we trade Russell Westbrook. And then with the Bradley Beal situation, I just heard about that today, so I can't really say too much about it, being that I don't know what his contract looks like, and I think he has to be traded to be out of there. I'm not 100% sure. I'll make another video regarding that once I do my research on that one, but the Kyrie move, that seems like it could be a more legitimate move in my opinion. And with Zach Levine, I know they talked about getting Zach Levine a couple of times. Zach Levine, it was rumored to said he is going to sign the max deal in Chicago, so I think him coming to LA is as good as gone. Originally, I was team trade Russ, but then logic struck and I realized it would be almost impossible to trade him without bringing in another contract like his. And with Russell Westbrook's stock crashing in the last 12 months, it was highly unlikely. My amended outlook is that this team can sign guys like Juan Toscano Anderson, who he probably won't leave Golden State, but you could try it. Lance Stevenson, Lou Dort, Markieff Morris, and some other guys that haven't quite lived up to their abilities or that need another quote-unquote prove-it deal. If by the time we get to January and things still aren't working out, I would attempt to maximize Russ's stock and try to trade him for a star with an expiring contract just to at the very least have his contract off of our books for the coming summer. The Lakers have no draft picks until the second round of the 2023 draft, and without much room to sign players through free agency. I'm optimistic about the year only because of the leadership we have with regards to our veterans and our coaching staff. AD will be back fully healthy, Braun will be Braun, and I believe Darvin Ham will find a way to maximize Russ's ability and make sure this team has a relatively successful year. This past season was a monumental disappointment to say the least, but as nothing but a hardcore Laker fan, I am keeping optimism about this team and the fact that they will return to winning tradition that the Lakers franchise is known for. But until then, we will see. If you are new, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you find yourself liking this video, hit that thumbs up for your boy. Until next time, for all the best hoop stories on the tube, it's your boy TB, and I'm out.